Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are back in episode 2 on Back to Basics. So last time we looked at the clear command and some general basics on commands. So I didn't forget to mention in that video that you can allow anyone in your world to do commands if you put their permissions to operator, and they'll be able to run not all the commands. There are some which I will get to that are host only, but they will run most of the commands and activate and set command blocks and get into command blocks. So anyone can activate it if you've got like a button, so it's usable by all your too much shift. But one thing to note is be careful who you activate it on or set operator on, because they can change your game settings. They can also use commands to break your world. There are videos out there for lag machines and stuff like that. Never on this channel. I don't agree with them. Why should people want to do it? It's griefing. So today we are looking at the clone command. So when I work out this keyboard, so today there's lots of different ways to clone. It's very useful, very handy for building. I'm not a builder myself, so normally in the worlds I am helping on or I'm building on, I get screamed at all the time, can you come and clone this for me, can you move this for me? So a few things and top tips on clone. So what a clone is being able to move or copy a structure as it is to another place in the world. So to do this you have to have it in a loaded chunk or loaded area. So I couldn't copy this 100,000 blocks away, because it's probably won't go that far anyway, so 1,000 blocks away, because it would be unloaded unless I've got someone over there in there already, or someone standing here when I go over there and move it. So, or you can use a ticking area, but I'll be getting into that when I get to the ticking area command. So when you clone, this time I'm going to do it in the chat. You type clone, and if we have a look at the syntax at the bottom, you've got your beginning X, Y and Z coordinate, your end X, Y and Z coordinate, your destination X, Y and Z, and then your mode. So you've got your mask mode or your filtered, that's the top one and the bottom one, and then both have the clone mode afterwards, but I'll be getting into those in a second. I'm just going to do a basic clone first. So a few top tips when it comes to typing in coordinates. One, your position up in the top left is handy, but if you see my hitbox, when you start typing in a command that needs coordinates, say clone or fill set block, which I'll get to those as well, you see the suggestions down the left, and these suggestions are very useful in commands because it helps you learn what you need to put. So you could that -74 is the X coordinate of the block I'm looking at, so I can tab to the left, to the right. If you haven't got tabs, so if you're not using a keyboard, I know on PS4, because I've come from PS4, what you can do is exit out of the, and I hope it's the same for the Xbox, but I'm not sure, and I haven't got a clue with the Switch. But if you exit out of the typing screen, you could use your directional buttons to tab left and right, which is handy to write commands quicker. And then you just have to click back on the box to start typing again. I haven't used Pocket Edition that much. I have a bit, but what I found is you can't tab. Please correct me, because I would be handy for the Pocket Edition players out there to be able to tab. But to my knowledge you can't, but that's only because I haven't played it that much. I've only used it to host worlds when I'm building my worlds. So that's some top tips. So what you can do, we're going to move this block from from here we're going to clone it and copy it to here. Now I'll put this torch here just to show where the end coordinate is, because the end coordinate is the northwest position of the structure. So I always forget where northwest is, so I normally would just do a little test of a little 2x2 one high square and see where it clones. But a good thing to look for is the sun. The sun always rises in the east and sets in the west, same with the moon. I can't remember which way the clouds go, but the clouds are the same, but I never have my clouds on anyway. So if you think of that, then north is this way, west is that way, so this is going to be the destination because that's the northwest block. This is the northeast, southeast and southwest block of this 2x2x2 structure. So if we start typing /clone in the chat, all chat commands need a slash. We can use our little helper on the side and our hitbox to get the coordinates. Now that's the first corner, because for a clone you need the whole from the bottom to the top corner. Now I don't know the coordinates of the other side, and unless I wrote it down before, it could be a pain to do. But this is what I do. If you execute the command now, it will come up with a syntax error because it's not a right command. But that command is now saved, if I use the up arrow, in my chat log. So I can just go over here, and I need this block now because I need the from one corner to another to clone this whole thing. And I open it up, and now gives me the rest of the commands to do. And then I can do that again if I don't know where I'm going to clone to. Then save that in my chat log, and then I'm going to use this torch here. So if this wasn't here, just place a block or place whatever, because then it will replace it unless you're doing one of the other modes, which you might not want to. If you ever want to save your commands when it's when it's ready, you can just put a random letter or a hashtag at the end to make it invalid, and then it's saved, and then when you want to run it again, just remove it. I hope that makes sense. But I'm just going to put the coordinates of this block in. I'm not going to do any of the other modes for now. I'm just going to do a simple clone, and then execute the command, and that has gone and copied exactly where I want it. It has overridden the torch because it's just a simple replace clone. But that's it for that one. This one we're going to learn how to do masked. So what masked is it clones the structure without the air block. So I want to put this tree in the middle of my little garden here, but as you can see, all around here is air. All of this is all air. So if I were to just a simple clone just like that one, it'll wipe out all these flowers, it'll wipe out this torch, and all the buttons and everything. So this is good if you are cloning trees, maybe not a simple Minecraft tree like this, but if you're using a custom made tree that has lots of branches coming out, there will be a lot of air. If you want it next to a small structure, then it's going to end up wiping out a chunk of it. So what we're going to do is, you can take any corner to corner, but I'm going to place a block here, do just what I did there, clone and get the coordinates, save it in my chat log. I'm going to remove that block because I don't want that to come into the clone. I'm going to learn how to fly using the keyboard and mouse, and how to place blocks. So we'll just keep it like, there we go. So I'm going to place a block there because that's the other corner. Put those coordinates in, save it to my chat log again. I'm going to just replace that just so it's symmetrical, and that one there as well. Just fueling my OCD. So now I'm going to get the coordinates of this one. So I'm going to bring up my chat log, do the same as what I did previously, but we're not going to execute it yet, because if I did it just now, like I said, it will wipe out what we've left. And we're going to put masked. then execute the command, and it places it in and keeps all the stuff there because we haven't moved all the air. So if you can imagine a box around this, there'll be air here, air all in here. So that's a good way. If you look at my, when you want to start building machines, or if you have already tried building my world edit machine, that uses the clone mask command, so it merges structures, or in this case terraformed land together to create your mountains or whatever you're terraforming. So that's all for the mask modes. Next one, we are looking at filtered. So with filtered, you can filter what blocks you want to clone out of a structure. So here we have a little structure inside here made out of stone, and it's covered in sand. So we're going to move this. So we're going to do the same as what we've done before. Do / clone the coordinates and save to my chat log. Get the coordinates of this area and save to my chat log, and then come to the location of the northwest corner, put the command in and the coordinates in, and there we see filtered. Just note, I won't be looking at replace because replace is just standard anyway. It just replaces, so without the replace, like the very first one when we moved the orange block, that would just do replace anyway. So we'll only be looking at masked and filtered, and then the other clone modes afterwards. So we're going to do filtered. This is the clone mode, so we're going to look at force and move in a second. Normal is what we're, unless we wanted to do the force and move, like which I'll show you. If we just want to do a normal, then we'll just use normal. So now we get a list of all the items we want to choose. So I'm going to choose a stone, if I learn how to spell stone, and then tile data. You see on this one, all of these are in brackets, so they're all required. So it's stone 0 for this one. In my previous one, I did show the previous video. I did show where to find a list of all the tile data. So now, if I execute the command, it will only bring the stone. So that's all it's brought. So it hasn't replaced this because it didn't bring the sand and it didn't bring any air anyway. So that is the filtered. So it can be handy. Personally, I don't use it much because if I want to clone a structure, I want the whole thing. But it really depends what you're doing, whether that would be necessary at all. If you've got a mix of different things, you might just have to do the same command. Now I've got that. If I wanted to move the sand, I could just change that to sand 0 and move that over as well. Obviously now that looks the same as that because I've moved both. So if you did have a structure with 2 things in or 3 things in, you only wanted 2 of them, you just do the command twice with both. So getting on to the next one. So now we're going to look at the force. So the force is when you want to clone into the same destination. So if I wanted to clone it just 1 block to the right, then it would come up with an error. So we're going to do clone, and get our coordinates just like we've done previously, and then get the coordinates of this block. Obviously it comes up syntax error when you're doing it like that, just remember. And if I just execute the command now, it comes up with source and destination cannot overlap. So this is why we use the force. I know that sounds like Star Wars. So we're going to do replace because that's the default, just to clone it over. If you wanted to filter or mask at this point, you can do, but I'm just going to do replace, and then do force and it will move it over and clone within itself, just like that. So last but not least, we're going to look at move. So you can use move to completely move the structure. So it doesn't copy it, it actually moves it. So we're going to do clone, our bottom coordinate. Remember, I'm getting the coordinate of this block by looking at it. If I started doing the clone up in the air here, you see it doesn't give me the option for the number. Now in a second I'll talk about what this squiggly line means, because that can be used in multiple of commands. So get the coordinates of the whole block. Went too far there. And then the coordinates of this torch here, because that's where I want to move it to. I'm going to face this way so you can see it. You can still see my hitbox there. Get the coordinates. We'll do replace, because that's the default. But again, you can do the filtered or masked at this point. And then we're going to, just to note, if I didn't say earlier, the normal is just normal. So to be honest, there's not much use in using normal. So if you did replace normal, it would be the same as not even having replace or normal. So we're going to put move in this time, and then that's the end of our command. So we'll just execute it, and it moves from over there, so it gets deleted and moves over here. So with the squiggly lines, which I always forget what they're called, tiles, something like that. You can, so if I set up a clone for this block, and I want to get this corner, and I want to move it over here, so remember a northwest corner, so if I want to put it there, it's going to place here over this. So if I stand here, the squiggly lines are your relative position. So if I put squiggle, 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 that's my current X, Y and Z position. You can offset that. So if I wanted to do -1 here in the middle one, so squiggle, let me put spaces so you can see. You can have spaces, I just prefer not to. Squiggle, that's my X, this is my Y, so it would be -1 on my Y, and squiggle, which is the Z. I'm going to do this. This is your standing, your feet block, not your head block. So what you're standing in, that's the block. If I just do a normal clone, it's pushed me out the way because I tried cloning it into myself, and you can see it's on top of there, and I've cloned it without having to get the coordinates of that block. So that is a handy way. They're a handy way to do it, and you can utilize that in many commands. But we are looking quite long, so I will end it here. I believe I've covered as much as I can on the clone. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Please like and subscribe, it helps me keep the channel going. I'm trying to get the channel up, and using this series to try and post a lot more. If there's anything you need or any custom machines that you think would be useful for people and you haven't seen or haven't found before, let me know, and I'll try and come up with it. But thanks for watching. I'll see you again.